Hello everyone, we are continuing on with our NHL season preview series, coming out with our second of 3 videos here today as we're running out of time, but we're going to make it. And we are talking about the San Jose Sharks. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you're interested in hockey, if you're learning about hockey, I'm hoping to do this as a full-time career. We'd love to have you here along the way. Now let's talk about San Jose. San Jose had a third straight season without a playoff appearance with a record of 32, 37, and 13 for 77 points and a 6th place finish in the Pacific Division. Now things have been shaken up from top down as the Sharks look back to being a consistent playoff team. So what are some of the storylines to follow for this season? What are my expectations for the team this season? Well, we're going to talk about that. And the first storyline will focus on Mike Grier. Mike, of course, made headlines earlier this year as becoming the first Black GM in NHL history. And now he's in charge of a team that he once played for. I'm excited for him. He has a lot to do, though, in order to get this team up to code, as former GM Doug Wilson made some win-now moves that definitely hurt the team a little bit later. As we can see, they are not a playoff team anymore. And we have already seen Grier make a major move to try to shake up the organization a little bit, trading longtime blue liner Brent Burns to the Carolina Hurricanes for an exchange of a player, prospect, and a pick, while also retaining about reported 33% of his contract over Burns' final 3 seasons of his current deal. So not too bad. You move 67% of his contract off the books for his final 3 years. People had mixed feelings about it though, and we are going to see if this is good or bad for them. And let's just say that this kept him and this team, I think, in the right spot, because look at Burns. Burns is older. Burns has played a lot of minutes. Burns is not the goal scorer that he nearly was. You think, had Grier waited another year and Burns just fell off a cliff, with his contract and his age and the amount of games that he's played, who would trade for him? Legitimate question. Who would trade for him with that contract? I don't exactly know how this will go, because I do think Burns will play well, but let's just say that in another year, they'd be in a much worse spot. So I got to say kudos to him for getting this contract out of there. And of course, they ended up picking up a goalie prospect in Mark Niemi, who had a .922 save percentage in the NHL last season. That's good. And maybe he is a guy they can throw out there in net in the coming years, maybe even this year, who knows. What moves could he make next? We will see, as I'm sure there's more than one contract this team would love to get rid of if they could, but at the same time, they're not exactly just focused on getting out the bad contracts. A lot of being a GM is about how you can gather talent and develop it as well. Seeing that he has the ability, or seeing if he has the ability to beat other GMs in trades, if he's able to get quality picks late in the draft, if he's able to get or scout good European talent. All of these things are very important to being a GM. So I commend him very much so for being able to get Burns' contract out of there. We have to see how he does in the full role as a GM, and also how he kind of commands shop or just leads this organization, which is all really exciting to watch. And as with 99% of people that work within the NHL community, I really am hoping the best for Mike, and I would love to see the Sharks get back to the playoffs. Not because I'm a Sharks fan personally, but for me, growing up as a kid, the Sharks teal was just a normal thing to see in the playoffs. And I kind of miss that, feeling like you're a kid again and getting to see the things you grew up with as a kid. And while I wasn't always rooting for a Sharks run, you better believe when they played the Penguins a few years ago in the Cup, I definitely was. So we're going to see there for that. Now, let's move over to another aspect of the storyline here, or another storyline, is we're going to be talking about the new head coach, David Quinn. Quinn coached 3 seasons previously with the New York Rangers and had a tumultuous time with the team. When Quinn was there, I should say, they weren't bottom feeders, I'll give him that, but they were not favorites to make the playoffs every year. They were that team that was having a good amount of talent, but they were not a lock to make the playoffs. And in fact, they only made the qualifying round in Quinn's 2nd season. Now he is coaching his 2nd team at the ripe age of 56, and we will have to hope for him that this goes a little bit better as he manages this group. And I'm also curious to see how he wants to manage this team. Quinn took some heat for not playing young guys enough when he was in New York. Top end draft picks, mind you. And while the Sharks might not have to deal with some of the media pressure that is a New York team or what a New York team has, this could still be a talking point for networks that cover the Sharks. Players like William Eklund are going to be guys that can cause headaches that way. He is a former 8th overall pick. They have other guys in this lineup as well that are young, that are high draft picks. I consider high as second round or above. And you think, if he doesn't play them all the minutes and the team is struggling, there could be a problem, and I completely get that. But at the same time, I really am curious to see what happens with the other parts of this team. I don't exactly know if it'll be as big of an issue. This, roster is focused a little bit differently than New York, but I could see Quinn giving a lot of the older guys big minutes. Karlsson is probably going to play a ton of minutes, and that some of their top line guys are going to be playing a lot of time as well. But in general, I want to see if Quinn is able to back off a little bit of not playing the young guys, and I would say that he probably can't hide these guys forever. If you want to be part of a long-term situation with the team, you cannot hide your young top-end talent at the bottom six or in the bottom six or in a bottom pairing role. Eventually, and that's why I say eventually, they have to be able to produce, or they're not going to be able to help your team out as much. If you have a first overall pick and he is a good player or is struggling with development, you either have to move on from him or try to not shelter him for so many years. Eventually, if he's a 25-year-old and he's played a bottom six role for you up to that point, then you probably know that he's just going to play a bottom six role for you, and somewhere along the line, either the drafting was wrong or things got messed up. But anyway, for Quinn, I am curious to see how this goes, because maybe this thing goes around a little bit better for him, this team, or with this team. As for the final storyline, I want to see whether or not Kaapo Kähkönen can do something to prove that he can be a starter in the league with this team. The 26-year-old Tindy played 11 games for San Jose after he was traded from the Minnesota Wild and had the best save percentage of any Sharks goalie last year, as well as the highest quality start percentage of any netminder. And with it, he was able to get a fairly cheap 2-year extension with the Sharks, and will probably get his first opportunity to be a starter in the league, considering what their other options are in net. I think Adin Hill might be out. I could have swore that he got injured, so probably Reimer would be their backup. The Reiminator, of course, is a GOAT, if you remember his time in Toronto, which feels like a lifetime ago. But anyway, this is probably the situation we're looking at where Kähkönen is in net, as Mike Greer actually backed this up, saying Kaapo has shown the potential to be a #1 goalie in the NHL and impressed us when he joined our team in the last part of this season, end quote. Now that he's got this confidence and he's able to have a little bit more breathing room, knowing he has a future with the Sharks, I want to see if this could be an area that's fixed for the team. And what if he could at least just maybe show what's going to happen here for the future of himself and his playing career. And I think he's on pace to smash his career high for starts in a season, which is 36. You're looking at him getting anywhere from 40 to quite possibly 60 plus starts this season if he's healthy and able to replicate the .916 save percentage from last year. Then the Sharks would be winning this deal, absolutely getting a goalie that's making, I want to say, about $2.5 to $2.7 million per season on this deal, AAV. If you have a goalie that's able to have a .916 save percentage, now some things might factor into it, there is other factors here, but if he's able to be a good .916 save percentage and give you 60 plus starts, then the Sharks are going to be in a good spot there. If not, the team will only have one more year to worry about his contract, and he may be able to find a trade partner, or they may be able to find a trade partner to get it off the books, but I don't know if that would happen, because you'd have to think who would want to trade for him unless it was a team that either had a very big need for goaltending, that had playoff hopes, or a defensive team that needed a goalie and thought, hey, why don't we take a gamble on the young guy? As I will say, that's kind of my biggest concern. He's coming over to San Jose after going and playing for a very good defensive Minnesota team, so I'm hard pressed to say that many other teams stack up to how well they played on defense, so we'll see. However, I say if it is a sure flop for him, then maybe it's nothing in the world, but probably could be it for him. But he had respectable numbers in 11 games this season in San Jose, so there's possible hope. Now, what are my expectations for the Sharks this season? Personally, like most people, I really don't see them making the playoffs or even being in the contention for it by the end of the year. If it is March, probably even February, and the Sharks are in a legitimate spot where they're just maybe 6 or less points back from a playoff spot, I would probably be just dumbfounded, because this team, while it does have some talent, does have some older guys that are going to play a lot of minutes, maybe aren't worth their deals, have some bad contracts, and are a little bit more focused on getting guys through the draft, stuff like that. David Quinn, I think, in my opinion, takes this job, and it's a mistake if he wants to have longevity within this organization, as I could see some lean years in the future for this team before they can get back to making the playoffs regularly. Will they be the worst team in the league? I'd say they'd be a safe bet not to be, unless they started shipping guys out like crazy. But again, I would be absolutely shocked if the Sharks made the playoffs this season. Anyway, what are your expectations for the San Jose Sharks? Please let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Again, I'd appreciate it a lot if you're interested. Anyway, everybody stay safe, have a great night, and you go have hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.